a manager who's just copy and pasting a Gen AI review into the form, that's not going to make your team member feel good.
What we got to get with leaders here is like, what is your real fear or misalignment?
This is none of our last jobs, right? So let's build a relationship to work that is as healthy as can be and prepare ourselves for what we're interested in.
There will be a day where maybe the CEO does get outsourced to AI. We never know. Welcome to the People Managing People podcast, the show where we help leaders keep work human in the era of AI. I'm your host, David Rice, and today I'm joined by Alana Fallis. She is the head of people at Quantum Metric and the author of our recurring advice column, Talk HR to Me. Now, if you haven't seen it on the website, it's definitely worth checking out. But today we're going to be doing the advice column live on the podcast. We've got a nice blend of questions for you, some focused specifically on AI challenges within the organization, and a few that are maybe more traditional HR dilemmas. I won't go on with a big long intro. We'll just get straight into it. Enjoy. All right. Well, Alana, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You ready to do this like live in person?
Let's do it live and in person. The people have questions and we have to answer the people's questions. So let's get
Yeah.
to it, you know?
I'm amazed by like how often we get them. I'm like, this is
I
great.
know. I know. It's so nice. I'm always like, oh, it's another one. It's another one. So it's great. Yeah.
Some of them come through and I'm like, oh, that's a good one. Like I can't.
I know. I rub my hands together. I'm like, all right, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
So yeah, if you're new to it, Alana has this advice column on the website. It's called Talk HR to Me. We do it every couple of weeks and we take the questions from that and she just does like an advice column. So we're going to this week's straight in this show. So, all right. The first question that we're going to ask here is, I just found out one of our executives is using Gen AI to draft employee evaluations and it's not part of any sanctioned pilot. He says it's saving time, but I'm concerned about bias, confidentiality, and tone. Am I overreacting or underestimating the risk?
No, I think you're perfectly reacting. My CISO, my chief security officer would be all over it here because there's a couple of considerations, right? Like ChatGPT is not secured to be entering confidential company information. So there's sort of two things to keep in mind here. I would certainly have this writer check with their security team about any internal protocols necessary or policy around the use of Gen AI. Some companies have a requirement that only specific instances are used, or there's specific guidelines for how to use ChatGPT. And so obviously the risk is entering company information for one. And for two, to the point of the question, not filtering through for bias and for tone and the delivery of information. So definitely check with your security team and make sure there are clear protocols on how to use Gen AI for your leaders. But on the other hand, if sanctioned and if allowed, using Gen AI to support with performance reviews is a good idea. I do it. I write the foundation of what I'm looking to do and sort of the bullet points and then use it to brainstorm or flesh out a thought if I'm having trouble. Or I'll upload something like we have, at my company, we have a specific Gemini instance for my company. So I can upload something securely and ask for some feedback. So it definitely should be used for a time saver and for organizing thoughts and for brainstorming. But a manager who's just copy and pasting a Gen AI review into the form, that's not going to make your team member feel good. And it's going to make them feel like it's not important and that you didn't give a crap about filling it out. So I don't recommend it for that reason, but it's about the right use, referencing it, using it for brainstorming, but definitely not just setting it and forgetting it and copy pasting M dashes and all into the
Yeah.
form. So yeah,
I would say it can provide inspiration for you, but
totally.
it's terrible with nuance, context,
Yeah.
empathy, which is sort of
Emotional
the things,
intelligence. Yeah.
which is all the things that a performance review should be built on.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly,
you don't want
exactly.
to use it's like one of the things it does now. You've probably noticed this too. Is it's
Yeah.
it uses all these it's not this, it's that sentences,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this would be terrible in a performance review.
Yeah, yeah, and their team members definitely know. It's gonna be really obvious, so yeah, I know, yeah.
No, definitely not overreacting on that one.
I don't think so. I don't think so. The appropriate amount of concern, I think.
Absolutely. All right.
Mhm.
So the next one is, and we obviously, where we are at this moment in time, a lot of it going to be a lot of AI questions, and please do keep sending them because we love them.
Yeah, we do.
But we're rolling out Gen AI access org wide, and HR is expected to lead enablement, but the C suite won't touch it. I'm caught between pushing change and protecting credibility. How do I confront performative innovation from the top?
I first have to say that I want to have a wine with this writer because I get it. I get it. Let's talk about it. Okay. I would, in this case, book some time with the person who is actually making this ask of you. I'm assuming somebody on the executive team, and get really clear with them about the goal of what they're trying to achieve and have a partner in goal setting and clear expectations for the use of AI across the company. I mean, if it were me, like my kind of sassy answer is I'd be making this everybody else's problem. I would be saying, hey, we're all in this together. But my real answer is get really clear on what you're actually being asked to do and whether the juice is actually worth the squeeze. Is it important? What are we trying to achieve? And how can I actually help? Because a use of sort of like everybody use AI with a you can't see me, but a general hand wave, is not enough. So I would get some real partnership with the person who's made the ask of you. And then I think what I would also do is have a one-on-ones with other members of the executive team and ask them, have exploratory conversations about their pain points and in what ways generative AI can support, more team productivity and address the manual labor issues that they have on their team. So make it an attractive offer to them, make it something that they can be excited about, make it a partnership, but definitely don't attempt to just go do it in the face of resistance and without clarity and then like try to make it happen. So it really is a group effort. So I think that's where I'd start. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this come up a little bit recently, right? Like
Mm.
the idea of innovation theater.
Mhm.
And
Innovation theater.
it's like, I
Mhm.
think what we got to get with leaders here is like, what is your real fear or misalignment that's attached to
Totally.
this, right? So, like,
Totally.
are you afraid of looking foolish
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
exposing like some kind of technical gap and then maybe losing respect? Is that your headache? Because, like,
Yeah.
we all are dealing with this,
Yeah.
like, welcome to the
Totally.
party, and that sort of vulnerability and experiencing that might actually bring everyone closer to you and make them respect you even more, the fact that they
Yeah.
watched you go through that, you know what I mean? So that could be
Totally.
something that you have to overcome within that conversation, and I think also there's, like, this belief within some leadership circles that it's like AI is really more for the doers, it's not for the deciders. And it's
Mm.
like a good tool for task work, but strategy, it's not there. And I think that what we're
Mm.
seeing now, especially with some of these new tools, I've seen a few lately that I was like, whoa. I think we're
Yeah.
seeing that it is becoming a strategic tool. And
Yeah.
so, like, yeah, how does your behavior change around that then? Like, and how do you use it to just become better at your job like everybody else, right? Because like
Totally.
there will be a day where maybe the CEO does get outsourced to AI. We never know.
God, we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, that's a really interesting perspective too, because I think I was approaching the question and maybe even with the assumption that there's like a lack of interest or resistance in some way,
Mhm.
but you uncovered something really interesting. I think that is it around a fear of a lack of knowledge of how to use the tools? And if that's the case, what kind of enablement can we do across the organization and support not just the executive team, but everybody with like how to use this technology? So that was a really good call out, I think.
Yeah, well, it comes from like I've seen some research recently, especially in particular with HR leaders, that they feel sort of like unqualified to use it, like not
Mm-hmm.
technically savvy enough. And
Yeah.
I think like there's so many different ways to experiment with it that you don't really have to be. And then once you start to sort of like open the door and
Mm.
create a certain level of comfort for yourself, you can take it so many different places. And I think
Mm-hmm.
particularly for like CHROs, think about like the culture drag of like everybody else is forced to use it, but you don't.
Mm.
Like, that's just
Yeah.
you're not, like, embodying any of the stuff that you want.
And the advice that I always give to my team is that, like, this is the tools that are gonna help us, be successful in the future and maintain a competitive skill set. Like, if I didn't also do it, then th then I wouldn't be practicing what I preach, and so, what's interesting is that I, at the beginning of this year, gave an H1 challenge to my team to find 2 use cases. I mentioned we use Gemini at my company for how Gemini can ease their workload or how they can use it in their roles, and they had to present back to the rest of the team a couple months ago. And I made very clear that it's not about, I'm not a super technical person. I'm not expecting you to be able to code or be an
Right.
engineer. I'm asking you to explore and see how AI can support you in your role, specifically giving 2 examples. And like starting slow, I think really helps sort of plant the seed. Once you start seeing and you get more experience with it, you're like, oh, and I can do this and I can do this.
The thing I've been hearing lately is, like, I've been hearing this term AI fluent culture, like, and
Mm,
I'm like, "That's nice to say."
yeah.
But, like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing is, like, I think for most companies, everybody's in this, like, very different place with it, and the cool
Yeah.
thing is, like, a leader is why you should feel, like, invited to use it and to lead with it
Mhm.
is that like there's someone within the organization that is in the same level of using it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're
Mm.
just starting out, or they're like they figured a few things out, but they haven't quite figured out how to apply it or whatever, you know?
Right,
So I think it's
totally.
a good time to like start using it and thinking about how you're gonna like essentially steward meaningful adoption.
Yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
and what will that mean? What will that mean for your organization and your team? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Well, so the third one that we
Yeah.
have here is we're automating parts of our HR
Mm.
ops function.
Mm.
And my most dependable coordinator just asked, is my job safe? I care
Yeah.
about my team, but I also know that more change is coming. How do I balance honesty with reassurance?
Speaking of generative AI, I mean, what a doozy, and I really feel you. I'm glad this person asked this question because I'm sure they're hardly the only person thinking of it. And I think, like, foundationally, my answer to this question is when faced with queries like this from your team is to sort of go transparently through your knowns and unknowns, right? There is a lot that we do know about what's important to the business, what our goals are for the year, what our headcount will look like, over the next couple months. But there's things that we don't know about how fast technology will advance and what chatbots will look like 6 months from now and what that will mean for the business, right? And so I have, I guess maybe I'm unique in this perspective, and let's debate if you'd like to. But I have, contrary to our last sort of question, where I believe in the potential of AI, I believe that it can leverage and automate certain parts of work. I am not yet at the state where I think it will be replacing jobs as quickly and just completely replacing humans, like at the rate that everybody seems to think. I know we've seen layoffs recently. There was a big, I think it was a Microsoft layoff of,
Yeah,
of a big
like
HR team.
9,000 people or
That's
something like that.
tons, right? And those are big enterprise businesses that have huge amounts of roles, and maybe some of those roles will remain redundant, but there's also a small part of me that's like, let me see their careers page in like 6 to 12 months. I think it's not proven yet that it can completely replace the role of a human, especially on small teams. But I would frame the response to this person like, here's our knowns and unknowns. We don't know what technology will look like. Right now, you have a spot here, and let's make the most of that spot by learning to use the technology and leveraging it to be really awesome at your job. So leaning into it and teaching people, to our last question, how to adopt it, how to get really awesome at what you do, how to become more data driven as your HR ops coordinator, how to present back to the executive team, to be someone who can really leverage and be on the forefront of innovating with tech and generative AI, I think is actually probably the best way to keep your job safe, all of our jobs safe. But yeah, those are my starting thoughts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like we are seeing it. They always say like, "Oh, it's not AI that's going to take your job; it's a human with AI." I think that that's very much a sentiment of the moment, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
I
right,
don't
right.
think that that is the long-term reality. 5 years from now, I think an AI will take your job.
Okay, okay, so you think so? Okay, yeah, could
But
be.
at the same time, right now, what we are seeing is there's an overindulgence with it, right? Like
Yeah,
from leadership. So they want it to do all these things,
yeah,
but they're creating like the recipe for boomerang employees because like we saw it with
yeah.
Klarna, we've seen it with
Mhm,
some other companies, high
mhm.
profile cases where
Yeah.
you end up having to bring people back because it doesn't quite do everything, or you find out that actually like the human QA step, like
Right.
quality assurance step is
Mhm.
really, really important.
Yeah.
And so like I think getting back to sort of like the key question here, you got to be honest without being harsh, right? You can't guarantee anything. Like we just have to be
That's right.
real about this moment and actually like that when you see like leaders pretending like automation's not changing things, it's like, what are you doing? You know,
Oh,
like
right, right. It should be changing some things. If it's not, then yeah,
well,
something's
and like if
wrong.
you're acting like it's not like
Right, sure.
I'd actually be more nervous about that.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
That's
mean?
right, that's right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I think you could say to the person like, okay, we're automating some of the more repetitive work, yes,
Mm,
but, like, we do wanna free you up to do other things, and I wanna work with you to identify what those things are. I think one of the problems that we're having and why so many people get nervous is they hear leaders say things like, "It's gonna free humans up to do higher order tasks," and then someone inevitably goes, "Well, what is that? What are those tasks?"
mhm.
And they don't have an answer.
You don't answer
And I'm like,
exactly.
"Well, it's time to start having an answer because people when you don't have an answer and it's like what
Mm,
you're gonna expect them to do, people
yeah,
get really panicky." And I
yeah,
understand that, like, from a skills and role development perspective, we kinda don't know, but we've gotta start giving people some sort of direction of travel. Like, "Here's what you
yeah.
should be learning." I don't know
Yeah.
where it's going to go, but I know that this will be relevant experience to where it does. Like, we've got to
Yeah.
at least be able to map that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't know, I think it creates a lot of nervous or tension when we can't answer that question.
Yeah, and I think that's particularly relevant advice for the person in this seat asking the question is like, how can you support the development of your team member? It's not like over for us all tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, technology will continue to advance, and of course, there are things that people will always want human connection on that is not automation and efficiency, like around emotional intelligence, like around coaching, like the ability to hear and synthesize and build relationships with other people. And for the record, not to sound like doomsday, anyone on the team can lose their job for like any number of reasons over the next couple of years. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah,
so
yeah. It's
so
not just AI.
it's
There's
not
like,
just AI. So I always try to say like this is none of our last jobs, right? Like so let's build a relationship to work that is as healthy as can be and prepare ourselves for what we're interested in and to your point like march in the direction of what skills will be strategic and demand and interest to you over time.
I always come back to like, they're going to need smart people who have a
Hello.
vision or like an idea of what to do with things. Like, so if you find yourself in these positions, like, start thinking about, well, what can I do differently?
Yes.
How can I
Yes.
try this or like experiment and just keep learning and keep. I
Yeah.
was talking to somebody recently who said the number one thing is shifting from like what I do to what I become.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, how much can I learn and
Mhm.
absorb is essentially going to be one of the biggest skills of the future. And I think that's
Totally.
why I kind of say, like, give people the agency, like, tell them, I want to shape this with you. I don't want to dictate it to you.
Yeah.
You come to me, you tell me, like, oh, I'm actually falling into this thing and it's really
Mm.
interesting and I want to keep going.
Yeah.
And like we can work together to figure out how you get there. But that's
Totally.
sort of the direction.
Totally. And I've said before, people have to be in the driver's seat of their own development and of their own career journey. And yeah, I think, definitely having this person lean into more of developing that technical skill set and learning to leverage technology and have it help them be better at what they do can't run in the opposite direction from it. So
Yeah.
that's what
I
we have to
mean,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've obviously working in media,
Hmm.
this isn't even the first thing I've seen just wipe out jobs.
Yeah, sure. Right, right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a
So it's
good
like it
point.
kind of gives you a perspective of like, all right, remember, like things will shift, but at the end of the day, like this thing that we do is not actually going anywhere. It it's not like people are gonna put down their phones and stop reading and stop watching things and stop listening to podcasts.
Totally.
So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, how do I now use this thing to shape those things that I always used to? I mean, it used to be much more labor intensive, right? If we
Mm.
can minimize the labor but create more output, like, let's just
Mhm.
figure out how to do that, So it's
Yeah, totally. Not to get us off track because this is a workplace and HR podcast, but did you see the release of the Y Combinator, like what kind of submissions they're looking for their next class? Some of these were crazy. It was like, someone build an AI tool, please, and pitch it to us that can build new seasons of retired TV shows, like new seasons of Friends using AI.
oh, no.
And like, nobody wants that.
Yeah, no,
Nobody
no, like,
wants that.
this is like the AI music thing,
Oh my
and,
god,
like,
the selling of the no, the signing of the HR artist. We're like,
yeah,
boo. Yeah.
like, what? Why? And, like, some of this
Boo.
music is absolutely dreadful.
Of course. Of course it's dreadful. Yeah, of
Well,
course.
I love that, not to, like, keep us sidetracked, but they had, like, recently I saw, like, a leaked. They had, like, the playlist gate where, like,
Mhm.
all these, like, billionaires' playlists were leaked, and one of the guys was listening to, like, some AI generated song, and he listened to it, like, 60 times in a row on his playlist. So I'm like,
What?
what kind of
That's
a
so
deep psychosis do you have to be? Like, I couldn't listen to any song 60 times in a row,
No, that's wild. They have something going on. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, man.
Alright, back to the
Alright.
question.
Yeah, back to questions, back to questions.
Why is it ethical that if two people have the
Mhm.
same job title, they can have dramatically different salaries?
Why is it ethical? Well, there are a lot of factors that go into compensation, and I think it's probably more helpful for this person to think of compensation for a particular role or for a particular team as in bands, as opposed to like one static figure that doesn't change and everybody gets the same number. But there's a lot of reasons why people in the same position might be paid a different place in the comp band. And it can be years of internal experience, as in they were just promoted into this role. You will likely be at the bottom of the band if you were just promoted into a new role. External experience, what people were doing before they got here. Many companies pay based on region, even if remote companies or like national location. Someone in New York makes more money than somebody in Idaho, for example, because of the cost of living. And so those are some of the reasons, but a comp band can vary from about like 30 to 60% on the high to low range. And so if you do have questions about your compensation, I definitely suggest that you involve your manager in asking why you are placed where you are. But those are some reasons on why that might be the case.
Yeah, I mean, years of like, those conversations, like,
Uh-huh.
"What? How much do you make?" Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah.
But like the things I always come back to is like, all right, does my pay accurately reflect the value that I add, and do
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's applied correctly?
Yeah.
If so, it's tough to question that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say like, is performance measured fairly, transparently, consistently?
Mm-hmm.
All those questions. Like, you gotta look at that, and if you have feedback on that, next time they send out the survey, be honest.
Yeah,
But,
sure, sure.
um
Yeah, and also like obviously I have some hand in my own compensation program at my own company, and it's not uncommon to see one role that has like a 40K band of differential, right?
uh
And some people I think make the mistake of thinking like, well, I was newly promoted, I should be at the top of the band for the new
It's
position,
not
and
how
that's
that
just that's
works.
just not how it works, right? And also sometimes I do find that like some people have questions, are your duties exactly the same as like the other people in the position? That might be a question. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into compensation, and if you feel that you suspect you might be paid unfairly, I would sort of do some reflection on those items that I just said. Do a little bit of market research, do a little bit of research about, what similar companies are paying for a similar position, and then ask the question. It doesn't hurt to raise your hand to ask. I'll say that it hurts to raise your hand and make an accusation, but I would start with the
Yeah.
exploratory question about why you make what you do and why you are in the band. And also, one last point on this, you want room to grow within the band like year
Mhm.
over year. So if you're at the top of a compensation band, you're probably due for a promotion or due for a next role, but you're not promoted at the end of every year, right? But like in my company, we give merit increases at the end of each year. And so there has to be like latitude to grow and space to grow. So just those are a couple points to think of, a couple points to think through.
And in that too, I would add just, like, keep in mind that these systems get audited and corrected over time. They don't
Yeah.
just, like, it's not on a one-off basis. So, like, it may take a year, but
Mm-hmm.
within that year, they may come back to it and go, "Actually, we've got some discrepancies here. We've gotta, like, close these
Yeah.
gaps," or whatever. And
Right.
just say, raise it, but don't obsess about it, because at the end of the day, you gotta do it in the right way, and they're not gonna change anything on anybody's schedule but their own. You know,
That is true. That is true.
'cause that's just a career advice.
Yeah, sure. Make your case, and then the company will tell you. The
They'll let
company
you
will
know,
tell you.
yeah.
Yeah, they'll let you know. Yeah, yeah. This is true.
Alright,
Yeah.
last question we have for today is, one of my direct reports is in recovery. He brings a six-pack of non-alcoholic beer to work each day. We work in manufacturing, which is I was like, I'm picturing this in the break room fridge of an office, so I'm glad that they clarified that.
Yeah. Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
It says, "I don't have any problem with this myself, but some other employees have made comments about him, just grabbing a beer in the middle of the day. One of the women on the team has complained to me that he smells of beer. I know that there isn't any alcohol content in these beers, but he has told me that they support his recovery. But I don't want this continued distraction. What should I do?"
Well, this is quirky. This
This is
is
different, yeah.
yeah, this is quirky. What I think you should do is continue to let him have the non-alcoholic beer, and there's a couple reasons. For one, addiction is a disability that's covered under the ADA, and so the employer is expected to make a reasonable accommodation for somebody under the ADA with a qualified disability. Now, like, what are the chances that you terminate this person for non-alcoholic beer and he goes to file a claim and you have to go to court? Probably very small. But that said, I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, it's non-alcoholic beer. If it was alcoholic beer, that would be a whole different answer to my question. But I think what I would do is make sure if the team is chattering about it, I would make sure that they know that it's non-alcoholic beer. Like, I would correct the assumption that he's, like, getting drunk and hanging out on the job. I think that's your responsibility to do that. You shouldn't be giving any information about this person's recovery. They can share it if they want to. But if not, I would shut down the conversation about the non-alcoholic beer. And you know what? Maybe I'm unique in this, that the person who complains about the smell. The smell of beer can be kind of gnarly. Like, I don't love the smell of beer. I got a simple solution for you. One of my companies I worked at did this. It was great. Mouthwash, little disposable plastic cups in the bathroom for everybody. Everybody can have a little refreshment at lunch and freshen up when they need to. So I would shut down the commentary and I would let them have their non-alcoholic beer. And I would encourage them to bring a non-alcoholic beverage of their choice to work, should it provide them comfort.
Okay, one, I love the mouthwash idea
Yeah.
because I think it's interesting. What would be interesting to me to track is like, do we see less dental claims?
That's
On
so
dental insurance
funny.
claims.
That's so funny.
Like
Could
that would be
be.
interesting. I don't
Could
know.
be.
Maybe I would just be like, I just
Yeah.
want to track that and see.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think you're right. Like for me, okay, he hasn't violated any policies, so
Right.
the key is to address like the distraction,
Yeah.
not their behavior, or not make it
Totally.
about him.
Totally.
So,
Totally. Yeah.
I don't think you can question someone's recovery methods. I mean, maybe if you're also in recovery, but
Right.
I
Sure.
think you're
Sure.
probably going to be more empathetic if that is your experience. So, like,
Yeah.
kind of like setting some clear boundaries here about like what
Mm.
you need to observe about your colleagues and what you don't, quite frankly. Like, there's
Totally.
certain things that are none of your business.
Totally. Sometimes people just gotta hear mind your business. I mean, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Unless they are concerned that this person is drinking on the job, in which case you need to like address that that's actually not the case, because then that can erode trust and cause confusion. So definitely nip that in the bud. But yeah, just because an employee has questions about another employee doesn't mean that they're entitled to like a lot of answers. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love that you brought up the ADA thing because you gotta think, like,
Yeah.
is that a reasonable accommodation? And maybe it
Yeah.
is in this case, so
Yeah, I would say it is. And again, like the chances that like that has to be like arbitrated in court are probably slim. But I also think it's the right thing to do. This person's in recovery. They shared that with you. That's a vulnerable piece of information. And if they want to spend money on a 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer on the daily, which seems like probably an expensive habit, then I think you should accommodate it. I think you should just let it be.
I mean, I used to work with a guy who drank, like, 4 Red Bulls a day, and I think it
That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, he had jitters. He made me nervous, look at
Yeah.
that.
Oh my
And he
goodness.
would
Yeah.
sweat a lot, and I was like, "Okay." Like, you try to say something, but I'm like,
Sure.
you know what? I don't know what he's going through. I don't know,
Yeah.
like, how disengaged he might be if we cut off
Mhm.
his caffeine intake.
Well, I hope he is okay today.
Yeah, I hope that he found maybe, like, acupuncture or something.
Yoga, I hope our
Yeah.
house he found
Uh,
yoga, yeah.
well, these
Yeah.
were some good questions. We
Uh,
gotta do this more often. I like this
I
format.
know, this was fun, thank you me too, thank you for sending us your HR and workplace questions, we really loved answering them, so do it again.
Yeah. Keep them coming. We have
Yeah.
an anonymous form that you can
Mhm.
just submit a question. You don't have to put in any personal details or anything like that. Just put in the question, hit submit, and, yeah, we'll tackle them in the column or maybe here on the show.
Yeah.
But, Alana, thanks for giving us some of your expertise today.
Thank you, thank you.
And if you're looking for the form, you can find it on a link to it on all the Talk HR to Me columns
Mhm.
that you see on the website. It's like right there in the first couple of paragraphs. And we'll also put a link in the episode show notes.
Cool.
All right. Until next time, everybody have
Bye.
a non alcoholic beer. No.